I'm Helen Hargreaves and I'm Head of Payroll Policy here at NBKB. And at NBKB, we're working hard to shine the light on payroll through our payroll apprentices, and we want to help. You will have seen we've changed NPW from National Payroll Week to New Payroll Wonders, and we want to help our new payroll wonders flourish and show their worth to the business, so that no longer are they going to be hiding behind HR and finance. We want to have our payroll wonders with HR reporting to them. Why not? So the payroll assistant manager level 5 apprenticeship is designed to give you lift off in your career, to develop superstars. So in this session, we want to show how we've brought in flexibility, how we hope that you can see opportunities for career enhancement and the training options that there are in that level 5 apprenticeship, and give you an insight into why the level 5 payroll assistant manager apprenticeship is different from other level 5 qualifications that you might have looked at. I need to tell you, we are recording this session for those who aren't able to join us today, and then we will be posting a link to this recording on our website, along with the recordings from the other webinars that we've done for National Payroll Week. So the agenda for this morning, first of all, we'll look at what exactly is the level 5 payroll assistant manager apprenticeship, and who better to do that than Ian Holloway, the chair of the Trailblazer Group for both payroll level 3 and level 5. For those of you who don't know what a Trailblazer Group is, I can't even say it. Trailblazer Groups, Ian, you will have to teach me how to say that properly. Trailblazer Groups are responsible for developing the occupational standards, which form a key component of an apprenticeship. Members of that Trailblazer include employers that represent that profession and very often intend to employ apprentices in it. Now, part of the Trailblazer remit is to remain active once apprenticeships have been approved for delivery, and to respond to any change requests. And we've seen that in action even just recently. And they're also encouraged to promote apprenticeships to potential users. And that's why Ian's here with us today, to give you the essential information about this level 5 qualification. So once you've heard all about the qualification itself, then I'd like to take some time to show you how taking an apprenticeship with NBKB can be a completely different experience to how you might have studied elsewhere, whether that's for an apprenticeship or whether that's for more of an academic qualification. We'll take questions at the end. So if you do have any questions, pop them into the chat box, or hold on to them until the end of the session, and then we'll do them all together. Just remember, if you do prefer to ask your own questions, which would be great because that makes it much more interactive, just remember that we are recorded, because sometimes then people forget about that, and then it can come about as a bit of a shock. So just remember that. So without any more rabbiting from me, let me hand over to Ian, who will explain more about that payroll assistant manager apprenticeship. Ian, it's over to you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, as Helen said, my name's Ian Holloway. The fancy title. Oh, can you see all the text on the site?
No, you can. No, we can.
Given the fancy title of Trailblazer Chair. Now, effectively, what Trailblazer Chair means is I sit in the middle of these employers that Helen was talking about. So I've got around me public sector, private sector, small employers, large employers, independent. I've got women, I've got men, I've got everybody that I can think of that is truly, as far as is humanly possible, representative of the payroll profession. So I liaise with them, but I also liaise with the Department for Education, the Institute for Apprenticeship and Technical Education, the IFATE, and the Education and Skills Funding Agency. So it's a very, very grand title for a coordinator, really. That's what I am. However, I do take it seriously, as I did with the level 3 and the level 5, because I wanted to bring these apprenticeship qualifications to the payroll profession. They're available in lots of professions. They're increasing almost on a monthly basis, the number of apprenticeships. And I wanted to be involved and give something back to the payroll profession. So when I leave the payroll profession, when I win the lottery, uh, this will be my legacy. So what I want to talk about then is just basically what an apprenticeship actually is. And because I've got this trailblazer around me, I always coin the phrase that it's a professional qualification, and it really needs to be regarded as a professional qualification. Maybe the word apprenticeship doesn't do it justice, because it's a qualification that is built for the profession by members of the profession working in the profession, so they know what is required of a payroll administrator at level 3, a payroll assistant manager at level 5. Am I going to be trailblazer chair when we do a level 7? See, level 3 is a payroll administrator coming into the profession. And the progression is to level 5, your payroll team leader, your payroll supervisor, your payroll assistant manager, your PAM. So it's a progression. It makes sense to complete the suite with a level 7. But let's get level 3, the review, out of the way first of all, and let's carry on with level 5. And I'm really pleased, because the role of the Trailblazer Chair and the role of the Trailblazer is to promote these apprenticeships and is to encourage people to take these apprenticeships. These apprenticeships are better than other qualifications, and these are the reasons why. And engage with apprenticeship training providers and endpoint assessment organisations. Now, I hope Helen won't mind me saying, but MBKB have been particularly good at engaging with me. And I really appreciate that. I really, really do appreciate that. And they are the only apprenticeship training provider, which are different from your normal training providers. They're the only apprenticeship training provider that are currently delivering level 5, the payroll assistant manager and the payroll administrator. And hopefully one day, Helen, maybe level 7, which is a degree. So the other things on that slide, what I want to point out is, yes, it's for all employees. However, that employee must be working at least 50% of their time in England, because apprenticeships, skills, education is a devolved responsibility. So Scotland have their own apprenticeships. It's dreadful. Wales, I don't know if they have a payroll apprenticeship, and Northern Ireland, I don't know if they have a payroll apprenticeship. So the first criteria, the apprentice, the employee, because that's what an apprentice is, they're an employee of the organisation, must be working at least 50% of their time in England. They've got to be over 16 years old. But one of the misconceptions, and this possibly is the way that we think about apprentices. Oh, somebody just coming into the profession for the first time, just come out of school. Absolutely, an apprentice, that person can be an apprentice. But it can also be for someone that's actually been working in the profession for years and years and years and years. Maybe they haven't got a qualification. Maybe they've just come back from maternity leave and they need upskilling. Their knowledge needs refreshing. Their knowledges, skills, and behaviours need refreshing. So it could be somebody coming into the profession for the first time, which is great, because we have got a skills issue in the payroll profession. There's more people leaving the profession than are coming into it, but it could also be for upskilling an existing employee, and that's really important. So somebody 16 years old, great, into the profession. Somebody 50, 60, 70 years old, absolutely, they can be an apprentice as well. And the benefits of being an apprentice are absolutely astounding. It is a nationally recognised qualification, regardless of that word that maybe demeans the qualification, the word apprenticeship. You will get, definitely with MBKB, the training, education and development and the mentoring and the assessment all the way through the apprenticeship programme. And what I don't think is always realised is that all employers can put their employees on an apprenticeship, regardless of whether or not they pay the apprenticeship levy or not. Now, if they pay the apprenticeship levy, what they can do is they can draw down. So MBKB will charge a price and they can draw down on their apprenticeship levy digital account to pay for the qualification. If they don't pay the apprenticeship levy, so maybe they're a small employer, what they can do is they can apply to the UK government in Westminster for co-funding. Now, co-funding is where the UK government say, yes, you as an employer can put your employee on an apprenticeship, we'll pay 95% of the cost, you only have to meet 5. And to me, if I'm offered a qualification and it's worth several £1,000s and somebody says, well, we're paying 95% of it, it's actually a bit of a no-brainer. To be quite honest, you don't get that with the commercial qualifications, and there's no sign that that will happen with commercial qualifications either. In addition to that, so drawing down on your levy or applying for co-funding from the UK government, there's these incentive payments that are currently available. They increased during the COVID pandemic years, not over. There's every sign that those might be increased again. I would have thought with the new government that came in yesterday, it met for the first time today. And then, of course, you've got this national insurance holiday. So employers who employ an apprentice do not pay national insurance on earnings up to the value of the apprentice upper secondary threshold, which are currently is 50,270, just nod. Yes, £50,270. And that, to be quite honest, is another big win as far as I'm concerned. So an apprenticeship, and this one we're specifically talking about level 5, the payroll assistant manager. This slide is all about the value of the apprenticeship versus a commercial qualification that's also available at that level. Now, as I've said, an apprenticeship is built by the trailblazer who are working in the profession, know what is required of the payroll profession and an employee working at that level. And what they develop is a number of what's called KSBs, knowledges, skills, and behaviors. Now, a knowledge is something that someone working at level 5 must know to be able to operate at level 5. So they must know about employment allowance eligibility, for example. They must know about P11Ds. What is P11Dable? What's not P11Dable? Is it class 1Able? That kind of thing. So that's the knowledge that somebody must have. Then they must have skills. Now, a skill is the ability to be able to employ that knowledge in the workplace. So you know about employment allowance eligibility, but actually, can you employ that in your payroll software where you'll actually be flagging, yes, I am entitled to the employment allowance, no, I'm not entitled to it. And the behaviors are really generic things about what kind of a person can become a payroll administrator. So they have to be able to tie their tie up. They have to be able to shave. They have to be able to be honest, ethical, adhering to data protection legislation, which is going to be overhauled as well. Now, a commercial qualification, on the other hand, is built by a commercial training provider because they believe that their qualification is what the profession requires. An apprenticeship knows what is required. A commercial training organisation offering a commercial qualification believe they know what the profession requires. And that was one of the reasons that I got into apprenticeships in the very first place, because I could see the range of commercial qualifications, and there is a place for commercial qualifications, don't get me wrong, but I could see the range of commercial qualifications available, and I knew that they were actually not delivering what an employer wanted. So all through the payroll level 3, so the administrator, and the payroll level 5, the apprentice will go through various forms of assessment. And that's important for both the employee employee's point of view, who's the apprentice, and the employer's point of view. If the employer is putting an employee on an apprenticeship, they want to be sure that the apprentice at the end of the day is going to pass the apprenticeship, because any qualification, be it a commercial one or an apprenticeship one, requires a pass mark at the end, requires a pass. So MBKB will go through a series of what's called on-program assessment activities. So maybe they'll ask you to complete portfolios of work, maybe they'll ask you to complete they'll give questions, and they'll expect you to provide the answers. Various ways of on-program assessing whether or not you actually understand the information that they've been imparting. Then you'll get to a stage in the apprenticeship called gateway. And the gateway is really a chat between the employee and the employer. And the ATP will have involvement as well. And the employer says to the employee, well, what have you learnt? Do you think you're ready to go to the next stage? So leaving the ATP behind, so leaving MBKB behind and moving on to endpoint assessment. Now, endpoint assessment is where the apprenticeship endpoint assessment organisation will take over, and they will deliver endpoint assessment activities which the Trailblazer have defined as being robust, so fully testing whether or not the training provider and on-program assessment has been effective and the apprentice is achieving the knowledge, skills and behaviours. Appropriate as well, so appropriate to the level, this is level 5 we're talking about, but also appropriate to the payroll profession, but really importantly deliverable, because it's no point the Trailblazer developing the most robust and appropriate endpoint assessment methods for the endpoint assessment organization if at the end of the day the endpoint assessment organization says, well, we can't do that, that is so complicated, we can't do that. So it's a mixture of being a robust testing that the KSBs have achieved, because that's what's required, competence of the KSBs, appropriate for the payroll profession and for the level, and deliverable by the endpoint assessment organization. Now, if you've got any queries at all, I think most people will probably know where I am, who I am. I'm always on LinkedIn. Well, I'm not at the moment, but generally I'm on LinkedIn. I don't do some of the other social media things, but I'm quite active on LinkedIn. So if you want to contact me at any time, do contact me on LinkedIn, because I will talk apprenticeships all day. And Helen, I'm over.
Thank you for that, Ian. If anybody does have any questions about the level 5 apprenticeship or about the endpoint assessment, save them up until the end and we'll do all the questions right at the end. Either pop them in the chat box as we're going along, or wait and you know, ask your questions at the end, because we'll get everybody to put cameras and things back on if they like later. So let me now talk to you about MBKB, because this may be for some of you the first time that you've come across MBKB. So before we go into how we deliver the level 5, I'd just like to give you a bit of an insight into us as a company. We are an award-winning, let me say that again, we are an award-winning apprenticeship provider, delivering a range of apprenticeships from payroll through to leadership, from HR through to corporate responsibility and sustainability. And as Ian said, at the moment, we're the only provider who are delivering this level 5 payroll assistant manager apprenticeship. But that doesn't mean that we sit back. We truly believe in putting our apprentices and their managers first in everything that we do. And we're constantly trying to improve and make that learning experience better. So what does Ofsted think about us? Oh, there you go. Ofsted think that we are an outstanding provider. We had an assessment in July, and we were absolutely thrilled that we were assessed as being an outstanding training provider. And here on this slide, we've got some quotes from Ofsted's report. And believe me when I say that there's been an awful lot of hard work that's gone into achieving that assessment. But like I said earlier, we're not sitting back to admire our hard work, because there's work to be done to get even better. And we're constantly looking for ways to improve. So what does the training sector think about us? Well, it's not just Ofsted who assesses apprenticeship providers. Did I mention we're also an award-winning apprenticeship provider? So last year we won Provider of the Year for our Level 3 Payroll Administrator Apprenticeship, and that was in the Association of Employment and Learning Providers and Further Education Week annual apprenticeship conference. Now, for people in the payroll industry, you will probably never have heard of the Association of Employment and Learning Providers and the Further Education Week. But for training providers, these are our Oscars. And we were absolutely thrilled that we won Apprenticeship Training Provider of the Year for our Payroll Level 3 programme. But it's not just us who win awards, because our apprentices win awards as well, and that means just as much to us. So last year we had so many fabulous apprentices, but 2 of them were nominated for the CIPP's Bright Beginnings Award. 2 of them were shortlisted for the CIPP's Bright Beginnings Award, and 1 of them won it. So we were absolutely thrilled for her. What do our clients think? Well, the most important opinion of all is that of our clients. That is our apprentices and the managers. So what do they think of us? Our clients are not only impressed by the support, but by the bespoke content and the additions, the motivational programme that's been decided on by both the organisation, i.e. you apprentices and employers, and by NPW. We work together, we make sure that we are collaborative, so that we can produce informed decisions to build these future payroll superstars. These are just some of the clients that we work with, and hopefully that gives you some idea of what NBKB is all about. So let's now focus on this level 5 qualification, because that's why you're here today. Ian has just done a marvellous job of trying to lay to rest that idea that we all have in our heads of an apprenticeship is simply the next step when you leave school. And that is, of course, true for so many apprenticeships, and there's absolutely no doubt about that. That is the next step, but it's not only the preserve of school leavers, which is the point that Ian was making so well, because apprenticeships now are so much more than that. An apprenticeship is simply an absolutely fantastic way to gain a qualification whilst you are working. You are being paid to learn, or as that snappy cliche goes, you learn while you earn. And it's absolutely right. And these days there are apprenticeships right the way up the apprenticeship ladder. And Ian's already mentioned that, yes, we've got level 3, we've got level 5. Is he going to be tempted to keep going further up that ladder until finally get a level 7, which is the equivalent of a master's degree? So you can see apprenticeships are really very different from how they used to be thought of. Let's look at the qualification itself. You can see there that the level 5 has got a funding band of £11,000. And that, especially for any managers or any L&D leads here, £11,000 might strike terror into the hearts. But apprenticeships can be funded through the apprenticeship levy, through the apprenticeship service account. If you're in a small business and you don't pay the levy, as Ian has already said, you can still apply for co-funding for up to 95% of that cost, which means it's a really, really cost-effective way to obtain, in this case, a really high quality professional level 5 qualification in payroll. The standard time for completing the course is between 16 to 24 months, but no one is standard. And we recognise that here at NBKB. We know that every single person is unique. Everybody brings with them the different knowledges, skills and behaviours. So the very first thing that we do is we ask every new apprentice to complete a knowledge, skills, behaviours analysis, so that we can identify the skills that you've already got, what level you've got them to, so that we can tailor that course to you, focus on the skills that you're wanting to develop and knowledges that you're wanting to develop further, and potentially shorten the study time to bring a discount for RPL, which stands for Recognised Prior Learning. You already know, because Ian's already said it for me, NBKB is currently the only apprenticeship training provider offering that level 5 qualification. You also know that we've been assessed by Ofsted as an outstanding training provider, so that you know that you're in safe hands with us. Who's it for? There are a wide range, in the same way that every single one of you is different and unique, so it is that every business and every role is also very individual. It depends on the type of organisation that you work in. So one of the key things to remember is that this is the second tier of payroll qualifications, so it doesn't teach the very basics. We would expect that you would do that through the level 3, and you would come into level 5 with a certain level of knowledge, skill and behaviour. But only a couple of weeks ago, I had a conversation with someone who was really, really interested in taking that level 5 qualification. But she wanted to take the level 5 qualification so that she could learn how to perform all the calculations manually. And that is not something that you would learn on the level 5, because, as I've said, it's the second level up. Manual calculations for tax, national insurance and statutory payments are all covered in the payroll level 3, the administrator qualification. But after our chat, that person decided that she would like to start on the level 3, so that she got all that grounding, all those knowledge, skills and behaviours that would really be the foundation for her profession, and then continue straight through onto the level 5. And because we have monthly enrolments and she was able to start straight away, she worked out that as long as she put in the work, and she would have to put in the work, but she worked out that it would be possible for her to complete both qualifications, going straight from one straight onto the other, in less time than it would take her to complete a level 5 qualification through a non-apprenticeship route. Now, that, you know, that is a very, very short time scale, and she would have to put her head down, but it is still doable. And that's the importance of assessing existing skills, knowledges and behaviours, because we want to make sure that everyone is on the right qualification for them. That assessment is really, really important. Working together, apprentice, manager and us as the training provider, to make sure that you're on a qualification that meets your aims and meets your learning needs as well. So what's the NBKB way? Well, first of all, I've just mentioned we have that initial assessment of making sure that this is the right qualification for you, and then we go through to onboarding. From the onboarding, we would then build a training plan and a learning journey, which takes you from the core modules here through to structured flexibility that I'm going to talk about in a minute, that allows you to enhance your programme by adding in modules from other programmes. And then we move through to preparing you for that endpoint assessment. And then you would move from there into endpoint assessment and achieving your qualification and celebrating and shouting it from the rooftops. So what does that actually look like? So let's look at the course modules. So these are the course modules that we've developed to help you to demonstrate that your competency against the 12 core duties of this particular qualification. And you can see how several of these modules look beyond simply payroll, because they aim to equip learners with extra skills that can bring long-term value, both to the learner, obviously, but also to the business. So you've got modules such as leadership styles, vision and mission statements, how to develop high-performing teams, planning and decision making, quality improvement techniques. All those are core management skills that are transferable and that the business will benefit from much wider than just simply within that payroll department. But it also goes somewhere to showing how useful, core and integral to business is that payroll department and the skills, knowledges and behaviours that payroll managers develop through their career. But the beauty of an apprenticeship is that this isn't just this is a vocational qualification. It's not just an academic exercise. So you learn how to develop those skills and knowledge, and then you put them into practice. And then as part of the apprenticeship, you demonstrate that you have them. It's not simply that you can write about what they are. As part of this qualification, you demonstrate that you have those skills, knowledges and behaviours, and that must be really very valuable to a business. At NBKB, we've introduced something extra, and that's our structured flexibility, because we recognise that it's a qualification that you're going to have for the rest of your life, and there may be other areas that you want to develop that are really tailored to you. So we give you the chance in that structured flexibility that I talked about in the previous slide to take 2 or 3 modules from any of the other qualifications that we run. They won't form part of your endpoint assessment for payroll, but they can help you to learn and help you to develop other skills. So let's look at what's available at the moment for you to choose from. So we have 6 pathways, which at the moment is 26 qualifications to choose from, and you could choose then the modules from any of those qualifications. So we've got 6 pathways. The first pathway is leadership and HR, and that is possibly most of interest to people on payroll. On payroll, very often people would want to link in with leadership or for HR, but we also have a finance pathway and a quality assurance pathway. So one of the qualifications that we are launching this week, tomorrow in fact, is the new one to us, the Workplace Pensions Administrator Level 3. And I suspect that when it goes live is going to be of interest to many of our payroll apprentices who want to get that bit of extra knowledge about pensions, because of course the two are very closely linked. The other 3 pathways that we have, less of a link unless we're looking at the learning development, because it could well be that as a payroll assistant manager you are coaching or mentoring other people in your team, and we do have mentoring and coaching that you can take from as well. And there's a specialist one there, corporate responsibility and sustainability. Now, no direct link with payroll specifically, but just something that every business at the minute is interested in, that corporate responsibility. And very few companies actually have a specific corporate responsibility department, so it tends to work with, it's just somebody in the business who has a real interest in it. So if that is something that interests you, then you could take some modules from there. So what delivery options are there for this qualification? So we work on a one-to-one tutoring basis at the moment, but we do have webinars and workshops as well. So every month we will deliver 2 or 3 of the modules that you can book yourself onto that take the form of more or less a virtual classroom. So they've got other students and you've got that interactivity and that learning with your peers, as well as the one-to-one tutoring that we give you as well, so that you've got that mixed learning there. We have industry experts who come on to give guest speakers. You will get assignments. Every module you will have tasks to do that involve assignments, self-study, peer-to-peer networking. And we make sure that we engage with all our apprentices at least every 4 weeks for a one-to-one session. Off-the-job integration. One thing I do need to mention is something that's intrinsic to an apprenticeship, and that's the off-the-job hours. So unlike other qualifications where you might be needing to study in your own time, with an apprenticeship, you must be given time out from your working week to undertake your studies, and that's called off-the-job. Until recently, it was a set 20%, which was around 1 day a week, but it did tend to skew things for those who are part-time. So it's recently been changed to a minimum of 6 hours, which would be 20% for someone on a 30-hour week. But in light of the fact that this particular course, this payroll assistant manager, is a robust course, it's challenging. At MBKB, we're still saying that you should aim for a minimum of 7.5 hours a week off the job, which is back round to about that 20%. But that is to make sure that you've got that learning that you need to be able to attain this qualification. So for managers and businesses, what would you get in return? What would you get in return for your investment? Well, your investment would depend how much it is, first of all, because if you're a larger employer, it will come out of your apprentice levy, or if you're not a levy payer, then 95% of the cost will be covered. And we will then work together to create a training plan that works for your apprentices' skills and knowledge and what you as a business need as well. And we do offer commercial discounts for cohorts. If you have any apprentices who are between 16 and 18 years of age, there's also a £1,000 employer incentive for you. So we could help you work through that as well. Communication is a huge element of this qualification, and it's something that we work really hard on to make sure that everybody is kept up to date. So as an HR or learning and development department, we make sure that you know what's happening with the apprenticeship just as much as the apprentice themselves and their manager. So for the L&D element, there will be consultation meetings, planning, building the course. There will be an account manager. You'll get overview reports. You will be able to have access to Smart Accessories, the software that we use for looking at the apprentices' progress, what where they are on the course, what they've learned so far, where the gaps are, that kind of thing. And there will be 12 weekly contract meetings so that you can review our performance and how we're doing and what you're expecting. For the managers and apprentices, yes, there's that pre-program induction to get everything started and on that right footing. There will be a dedicated tutor and an operations manager. Every session, every learning session is then communicated to both the tutor and the operations manager. They will also have access to Smart Assessor, and there will be 10 weekly progress review meetings. So this is a question we get asked a lot. Does the CIPP recognise the qualification? And the answer is, of course they do. It's a professional qualification in payroll, and that goes for both level 3 and level 5. So to that extent, whilst you are studying for a payroll apprenticeship on either level 3 or level 5, you can apply for free affiliate membership of the CIPP. Once you've passed your qualification, you can then apply for membership of the CIPP at whatever is the level that's most appropriate for you. So for level 3 apprentices, they're probably more likely to apply for associate membership. For those holding the level 5, that's the payroll assistant manager, then they will probably want to apply for full membership. So I hope that's allayed any worries that you might have about that. So why NBKB? Well, I've already told you that we would tailor the programme, that we have that structured flexibility to allow you to pick modules that are right for you. We have flexible enrolment dates, so you don't have to wait for the next cohort to start. You can start next month if you like. The one other thing that I wanted to mention is this ongoing payroll support through newsletters, webinars, and the advice line. So during your qualification, you will benefit from ongoing payroll support. So an apprentice and their manager will get a monthly payroll newsletter, making sure that you're up to date with changes going on in payroll. And as Ian mentioned, we've got a change of government. We know we're expecting with our eyes closed, waiting for the changes that we're almost certain are going to come. So it's really important that you keep your eye on all these newsletters when they come out. We offer bi-monthly payroll legislation webinar updates. Now, the reason we do them bi-monthly is because I need these webinars to be relevant to you, and so sometimes there's not enough news to warrant a whole webinar every month. During coronavirus, we did them every month because things change so often. So if we move back into that position where we're getting lots and lots of changes, then the webinars will move back to every month, but you will also get the newsletters as well. And we have the payroll support advice line. I say line loosely because actually it's not a line as such, it's email, because we all know in payroll, everyone wants everything in writing. So any payroll related advice, you can email your question and get a reply from one of our experts. But this support doesn't come to an end just when you've got your certificate. That's it, bye. Because payroll's a complicated business and knowing what to do is crucial if our employees are going to be paid accurately and on time. So we continue to offer that support to apprentices and their managers after that qualification, because again, that's part of the NBKB way. You're one of us and we want to make sure that you've got that support even when you've got your qualification and you've moved out into the world again. So to sum up, we'll deliver a programme that's really tailored around your company and your apprentice. So that's the end of my slides. So what I will do is open up the chat now. Please feel free, if you like, to put on your cameras or to unmute yourselves if you would like to ask any questions. So far, we haven't got any questions in the chat box. So is there anybody that does have any questions? Ian, you put your hand up.
Well,
go on.
Seeing as I'm talking, as the current Trailblazer chair, and we've done 3, which is being revised as we speak. We've done 5, which, as you know, and thanks to NBKB, to be quite honest, because I was talking about the validity and the robustness, the appropriateness, and the deliverableness, if that's even a word, of the endpoint assessment. And NBKB actually points out something that it actually was was not achievable, and that's something that we really hadn't considered. It just wasn't achievable, so we amended that. So we've done the 3, we've done the 5, which is being tweaked as we speak, 3 being done. Do you think that there is an industry appetite for a 7?
Personally, I would like to think that there is. You and I both hold a level 7 qualification in payroll. So I would like to think that there is that. In fact, we have had somebody inquire to ask if we did a level 7. And our initial response when we said, no, not at the moment, they were going to go and have a look to see, well, who else did the level 7 apprenticeship? Till I
There
pointed
isn't
out,
one.
it doesn't exist. So what we have said is that if there is a level 7 ever developed, then yes, we would like to continue through with it. But the fact that I've had a question about it before it even exists suggests to me that yes, there will be some appetite. I don't know if there's anybody in the audience today that feels that they would be interested in going the full way through the apprenticeship qualifications onto the 5 and then potentially onto the 7 again. I don't know if that interests anybody. No
Well, I've
questions so
had
far.
queries. Yeah, I've had queries from people, and the IFATE, the Institute for Apprenticeships and Technical Education, they are keen, because 3 is your foundation. You learn everything that you might come into contact
Yeah.
with. 5 is the progression from the foundation, so progressing some of those things, which is a reality in payroll. As you sort of like you maybe start as administrator and then you get a promotion, so that happens anyway. And yes, it would make sense for a 7 to be there, but the role of Trailblazer Chair is unpaid, and it's a lot of flipping work. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
dealing with Helen and Mark all the time. No, that's a joy. It's a joy.
I will remind you of that next time I send you a question. But in all fairness, Ian, actually, I do have to say it was really heartening that we were given the opportunity to feed into our thoughts to the endpoint assessment for that level 5, that you took it on board immediately and went back to, was it the IFA, the Institute for
Yes.
Apprentices, that you went back to, and that they did as well. And it
Oh yeah,
wasn't
rapid.
just paying lip service. Oh, well, we've consulted. We've all had those areas before where you've consulted, but we've not really been consulted. We've just been told, and they've just told us that they're consulting, but they're not. But it was a genuine, our concerns were acted upon both by the Trailblazer and yourself and by the IFIT, and changes were made that it was wonderful to see. Very heartening. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh no, because we wanted, myself and the Trailblazer, we want the apprenticeships to be appropriate for the level, and we really do believe that level 3 is appropriate at that level, and level 5 is a progression, and we absolutely believe, and I still fundamentally believe, that it is the right qualification at that level. And because I've worked with the Trailblazer, I know that it's what the Trailblazer, the employers, actually want. And they also want a level 7. And maybe one
We
day.
need to sweet talk you, Ian. We need to sweet talk you.
Yeah, maybe one day, maybe one day. But I'm so pleased that MBKB have reacted so positive. I think you were the first out there with level 3 as well, weren't you?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you couldn't wait to get your hands on level 3, couldn't wait to get your hands on level 5, and you'll probably bite my hands off to get a level 7. But that is exactly the kind of excitement that we wanted from apprenticeship training providers, to be quite honest. Didn't imagine, in actual fact, that level 3, I can remember putting a proposal forward to the Institute for Apprenticeships and Technical Education and plucking a figure out of my head, saying, oh, there'll be 500 starts a year. but in actual fact, that's become a reality.
Mhm.
And that apprenticeship they're really keeping an eye on it, and I get graphical representations of who's on it, who's dropped out, how it's funded, whether or not it's men, whether or not it's women. I get those representations all the time. I think it's one of the most popular. And level 5 gets interest as well, because that is getting take up as well. And
Absolutely.
BKB are taking it up, and I'm so pleased that as chair, I'm so pleased, and it just makes all my work worthwhile, really.
Yeah, no, I mean it's really good, and I'm glad that we've had the chance today to talk about the level 5 apprenticeship, to have you here with us as well, which has been really good. So thank you ever so much, Ian, for that.
No problem.
And if anybody doesn't have questions now but has them later on, or would feel more comfortable getting in touch and asking for any information later, then please feel free. We will be hosting this session on our website as well, so that you can go back and listen to anything that Ian said about the core elements of the qualification as well. If there aren't any questions, then I will bring this to a close and thank everybody for attending. And Ian, special thanks to you for speaking on this session today. Very
You're more than welcome. I would talk apprenticeships all day, and thank you MBKB for support, and employers, thank you for supporting apprenticeships, because without the employer engaging in apprenticeships, recognizing that actually these are the qualifications of the future, well, there would be no point me spending all the time doing it. So yes, just thank you.
So with that, I will bring it to a close, and thank you all very much. Have a great rest of your day. Have a fantastic remainder of National Payroll Week, and we will speak again, I am sure. Thank you very much.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.